Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The desert night was unusually quiet. Maria sat on the edge of her bunk in the dimly lit barracks, boots still laced from the 12-hour shift she had just finished. Her hands were trembling as she struggled to untie them, the metallic taste of exhaustion bitter in her mouth. Dust still clung to her uniform but she barely noticed. Her tablet blinked on the small wooden desk beside her. One new email. Normally, messages from home were the only warmth she clung to in this lonely deployment. With tired fingers she tapped the screen. The subject line froze her. It's over. At first she thought her fatigued eyes were playing tricks on her. She rubbed them, blinked, leaned closer. No. The words didn't change. Her chest tightened as though the desert air had been sucked out of the room. She opened the message. Maria. I can't do this anymore. The distance, the waiting, it's broken me. By the time you read this I'll have filed the papers. Don't try to call. I need to move on with my life. Goodbye. Daniel. Her breath hitched. The man who had stood at the altar 2 years ago, promising forever, had just ended their marriage with 5 lines in an email. No, this can't be real, she whispered, clutching the tablet so tightly her knuckles turned white. She scrolled again, hoping maybe there was more. Some explanation, some detail that would tell her this wasn't final. But that was it. A cold, heartless letter typed from the comfort of their home thousands of miles away, sent to a woman who had spent months patching up bleeding soldiers while her own heart waited faithfully across oceans. Her bunkmate, Corporal Denise Taylor, noticed Maria's sudden stillness. Hey Doc, you okay? She asked gently, using the nickname everyone gave her as the unit's medic. Maria turned her head slowly, eyes wide, as though words had been stolen from her. What happened? Denise pressed, standing and crossing the room. Maria's lips trembled. He left me. Denise frowned, confused. Left? What do you mean? Maria shoved the tablet into her hands. Read it. Denise skimmed the message, her jaw tightening. Damn. You sent this. Over email? Maria nodded, the tears finally spilling over. They rolled down her dust-streaked cheeks, soaking into her collar. Her body shook with silent sobs, the kind she had stifled countless times while stitching soldiers torn by shrapnel. But this wound, no amount of bandages could close. I don't understand, Maria choked out. He promised. He said he'd wait. Denise put a hand on her shoulder, but Maria barely felt it. She was already somewhere else. In the past, in memories of warmth that now felt like betrayals. Flashbacks. Maria remembered the day before deployment. Daniel had cupped her face in his hands, brushing away her tears. Hey, don't cry, he had whispered. This is just a season. You'll go, you'll come back, and I'll be here waiting. Always. Promise? She had asked, searching his eyes. I promise. Distance won't change us. But distance had changed everything. Back in her bunk, Maria curled into herself, clutching the pillow like a lifeline. Her mind screamed questions. Why now? Why this way? Was she not worth a phone call? A conversation? Denise sat beside her quietly. Some men can't handle strong women, Maria. You're out here saving lives, carrying the weight of the world. Maybe he couldn't stand not being the center of yours. But the words didn't help. They stabbed deeper. Maria didn't want strength or wisdom. She wanted her husband. She wanted the man who had sworn he would love her through anything. Midnight breakdown. Hours later, the barracks were silent. Most of the soldiers slept, exhausted from patrols. But Maria lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She whispered into the dark. Why, Daniel? Why couldn't you wait just a little longer? I gave everything, for us. Her body ached from fatigue, but her heart ached more. She reached under her pillow, pulling out the small tin box where she kept his letters. Dozens of envelopes, yellowed from desert air, tied together with a ribbon. She opened one at random. His handwriting greeted her. My love, every day without you feels empty. But when I think of the moment you come home, I know it'll be worth the wait. Maria pressed the page to her lips, tears soaking into the ink. Liar, she whispered bitterly. The call attempt. Against her better judgment, she reached for the tablet again. Her fingers hovered over the call button. She knew he had said not to call, but she couldn't stop herself. The dial tone rang once, twice, then voicemail. Daniel, she began, her voice breaking, please talk to me. Don't end us like this. We can fix it, I swear we can. Just, don't throw us away. She hung up before the tears drowned her words completely. But no reply came. The Hollow Morning. By dawn, Maria felt like a ghost in her own body. She dragged herself to the medical tent, her eyes swollen, her face pale. Sergeant Miller noticed immediately. "Doc, you look like hell," he muttered, concern in his gruff tone. "I'm fine," Maria lied, pulling on her gloves. "Who's first?" But inside she wasn't fine. Inside she was bleeding out. As she cleaned a soldier's wound, she caught her reflection in the stainless steel tray. Her eyes were haunted, empty. She almost didn't recognize herself. Private confession. Later that evening, Denise cornered her again. "You need to talk about this, Maria. Keeping it bottled up will eat you alive." Maria shook her head. "What's there to talk about? He's gone. He didn't even give me the dignity of a goodbye in person. Just an email." Denise clenched her fists. "That's cowardly. You deserve so much better." Maria looked down at her trembling hands. "Maybe I wasn't enough." "Don't you dare," Denise snapped. "You've saved men twice his size out here. You're strong, you're brilliant. He's the one who wasn't enough for you." But Maria couldn't believe it yet. To her, she was the one left behind, the one abandoned in the dust of a foreign land. The silent promise. That night, Maria sat alone under the desert stars, her dog tags cold against her skin. The email replayed in her head again and again until it carved itself into her soul. But as she gazed into the endless horizon, something stirred deep inside. A flicker, faint but alive. She whispered into the wind, voice cracking. "You think you've broken me, Daniel? But you haven't. Not yet." Her chest still ached, her eyes still burned. But for the first time since opening that email, Maria felt the faint spark of something stronger than grief. It wasn't hope. Not yet. It was survival. The metal roof creaked with the desert night's chill, and the fluorescent light above Maria's bunk flickered like a wounded heartbeat. She curled on the thin mattress, pillow pressed to her face to muffle her sobs. Her tears soaked the fabric, leaving dark patches that clung to her skin. Her fellow soldiers pretended not to hear, but whispers spread in the dim room. "She got dumped, over email?" one muttered. Another shook his head, voice dripping with disbelief. "Man, that's brutal." Maria pressed her palms to her ears, wishing she could shut it all out. She had stitched open wounds on the battlefield, carried broken men to safety, yet tonight she felt as fragile as glass. Denise sat beside her, hand rubbing her back gently. "Cry it out, document, don't hold it in." "I don't understand," Maria gasped between sobs. "I was faithful. I waited. Her voice cracked. "Why wasn't I enough?" Denise's tone hardened. "Don't say that. He's the one who failed. Not you." But Maria couldn't be convinced. Images of Daniel's face swam before her eyes, his smile at their wedding, his voice whispering promises of forever. Those memories were knives now, cutting deeper with every replay. When the lights went out, silence filled the bunker. But Maria didn't sleep. She lay staring at the ceiling, whispering the same words over and over. "Why, Daniel? Why now?" Sleep finally claimed her in fragments, pulling her into a whirlpool of memories. She dreamed of their wedding, the white gown, the soft hum of violins, Daniel's hand trembling as he slipped the ring on her finger. "I'll wait for you," he had said, voice firm with conviction. "Distance won't change us." The dream twisted cruelly. His face blurred, replaced by the cold words of the email. "It's over." Maria woke with a jolt, heart racing. She sat up, clutching her chest, whispering into the dark, "Liar. You lied to me." The next day, during her rounds at the medical tent, she found herself lost in thought. While stitching a soldier's torn arm, her mind replayed the promises Daniel had made before she left. The long walks they shared, the whispered plans for children, the tiny house with blue curtains she had dreamed of filling with laughter. Now those dreams lay shattered, buried under the weight of 5 merciless sentences. That evening, Denise found her sitting outside the barracks, staring at the horizon. "Thinking of him again?" she asked. Maria didn't answer at first. Finally she whispered, "He swore distance wouldn't change us. But it did. Or maybe he never meant it." Denise placed an arm around her. "Then don't let his broken promises define you. Write your own." The following morning Maria rose before dawn, driven by a sickening dread. She managed to find a satellite phone and dialed the bank, her voice trembling as she gave her details. The operator's voice was calm, rehearsed. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Santiago, but your joint account shows a balance of 0. Her knees buckled. "That's impossible. Check again." But the answer was the same. Daniel had drained everything. Ma'am, it seems the withdrawals were made last week. Do you wish to contest? She ended the call abruptly, her chest hollow. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was financial. The savings they had built together, the sacrifices she had made, all gone. That night she told Denise. He took everything. Every cent. Denise's face hardened with anger. That's theft, Maria? He didn't just leave you, he robbed you. Maria buried her face in her hands. He's left me with nothing. Her voice cracked, but inside, a seed of something unfamiliar began to form. Rage. In the weeks that followed, Maria continued her duties with mechanical precision, but her heart felt hollow. One evening she opened her small tin box, pulling out the bundle of letters she had written Daniel. Dozens of them carefully sealed, full of hope and love. She remembered writing by candlelight after missions, pouring out her soul on paper. But when she contacted a mutual friend back home, she learned the truth. Maria, the friend admitted softly, I don't think Daniel even opened your letters. They were stacked on his desk, unopened. Maria's hand shook as she held one of the envelopes. So while I was bleeding into these pages, he was already gone? Her tears fell onto the ink, blurring the words she had once believed would reach his heart. She whispered, I was writing to a ghost. The news of her betrayal spread through the barracks like wildfire. Soldiers whispered behind her back. Did you hear? Her husband dumped her by email. Man, that's cold. She doesn't deserve that. The humiliation stung deeper than the gossip. Everywhere she walked, she felt eyes on her, pity etched into their faces. One evening, her commanding officer, Captain Lewis, pulled her aside. His voice was firm but kind. Doc, I've seen you patch up men with bullets in their legs without flinching. Don't let this break you. Don't let him win. Maria's throat tightened. But he already has. He took everything. Lewis shook his head. No. He only wins if you stay broken. Build something he can never take from you. The words struck deep, planting themselves in her heart. Weeks later, Maria found herself scrolling through social media on a rare off-duty night. That's when she saw it. Photos of Daniel, smiling hand in hand with another woman. Their arms wrapped around each other on a beach, cocktails in hand. The caption read, New Beginnings. Her breath caught. The money he stole, he was using it to fund this new life. She slammed the tablet down, hands trembling. How could he? How could he replace me so easily? Denise glanced at the screen, anger flashing in her eyes. That's her? The one he left you for? Maria's lips trembled, but her eyes hardened. No. That's the one who thinks she won. But I'm not finished yet. For the first time, her pain turned into a vow. Deployment ended months later. Maria stepped off the transport plane, duffel bag slung over her shoulder. She inhaled the familiar scent of her hometown, expecting some comfort. But comfort never came. Her house. Sold. Her car? Gone. She stood on the curb with nothing but her military-issued gear, staring at the life Daniel had erased. She dragged her bag to her friend Angela's apartment. Angela's eyes widened in shock. Maria. What happened? Maria's voice was hollow. He left me with nothing. Not even a bed. Angela hugged her tightly. Then you'll stay here. We'll figure this out. Maria nodded weakly. For the first time she realized the depth of her loss. She was starting from ground zero. Maria sought legal advice, hoping to salvage something from the wreckage. But the lawyer's words were bleak. Daniel filed for divorce in your absence. He claimed abandonment, used your deployment against you. He's already secured most of the assets. Maria's mouth fell open. Abandonment? I was serving my country. I'm sorry, the lawyer said gently. But without your presence here, the court accepted his filings. Maria's fists clenched. She felt trapped, powerless. That night, lying on Angela's couch, she stared at the ceiling and whispered, He thinks he's won. But I swear, I will rise from this. And for the first time, her words weren't just a prayer. They were a promise. The nights in Angela's small apartment were the hardest. Maria lay curled on the couch, her military duffel bag shoved into a corner like an unwelcome reminder of everything she had lost. The springs beneath her dug into her back, but she didn't complain. She had no right. This wasn't her home. Sometimes hunger gnawed at her stomach, but she skipped meals to stretch the little money she earned at the clinic where she had taken a temporary job. Angela offered help, but Maria refused. I can't lean on you forever, she whispered. One evening after a particularly long shift, Maria shuffled into the apartment, uniform wrinkled, her eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Angela studied her quietly. Maria, when's the last time you ate a proper meal? Maria forced a smile. I'm fine. Don't worry. You're lying, Angela shot back. You've lost weight. You're running yourself into the ground. Maria slumped on the couch. I have nothing, Angela. You took everything. If I don't work, if I don't fight, I'll drown. Angela sat beside her, grabbing her hand. Then fight smarter. You can't keep bleeding yourself dry. You deserve more than survival. Maria swallowed the lump in her throat. She wanted to believe her friend, but at that moment, all she knew was survival. The clinic was quiet that night. Maria moved between the beds, checking for drips and monitoring patients. In one corner, an elderly veteran, Mr. Adebayo, stirred. His wrinkled hand reached for hers. Doc, he rasped, his voice hoarse with age. Maria knelt beside him, adjusting his blanket. How are you feeling tonight, sir? He studied her face carefully. You look tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from work, but from life. Maria blinked, caught off guard. I suppose you could say that. He squeezed her hand weakly. You gave your youth to serve others. Don't you dare let a coward take your soul. Her throat tightened. What makes you think someone took anything from me? He smiled knowingly. Your eyes. They carry betrayal. But also fire. Don't waste that fire on tears. Use it. Maria bit her lip, tears stinging her eyes. But I feel broken. You're not broken, he whispered. You're just beginning. Sometimes God uses betrayal to push us into becoming who we were meant to be. Maria sat in silence long after he drifted to sleep. His words echoed in her heart, a balm to wounds she thought would never heal. For the first time she whispered to herself, I will rise. A week later, Maria walked past a community center and noticed a flyer on the bulletin board. Free entrepreneurship program for veterans. She paused, staring at it. Her first instinct was doubt. What do I know about business? But then Mr. Adebayo's words came back. Don't waste that fire. That evening she signed up. On the first day, Maria sat among a dozen veterans, notebooks open, pens ready. The instructor, a cheerful woman named Ms. Harper, greeted them warmly. This program is about rebuilding. You fought for your country. Now fight for your future. Maria scribbled notes feverishly, her mind alive with possibilities. As weeks passed, she learned about budgeting, planning, marketing, and pitching. During a break, one of the veterans leaned toward her. So, Doc, what's your plan? Maria hesitated, then said softly, mobile clinics. Affordable care for people who can't reach hospitals. The man grinned. That's brilliant. You could change lives. For the first time, Maria smiled genuinely. Maybe she could. At night, she sketched designs for vans, listed equipment she would need, and dreamed bigger than she had in months. Her heart stirred with something new, purpose. The day of the local pitch contest arrived. Maria stood backstage, clutching her notes. Her hands trembled. What am I doing here? She whispered. Angela, who had insisted on coming, squeezed her shoulder. You're showing them who you are. That's what you're doing. When her name was called, Maria stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding. She looked out at the judges and the small audience, her throat dry. She began hesitantly. My name is Maria Santiago. I served as a medic in the army. I know what it means to save lives with limited resources. That's why I'm here with an idea. Mobile clinics to serve underserved communities. Her voice grew stronger as she spoke of families without access to health care, of veterans struggling in silence, of children who could be saved by simple care. When she finished, the room was silent. Then applause erupted. Later, as the winners were announced, Maria sat frozen. And the grant of $15,000 goes to Maria Santiago. Her eyes widened. Tears blurred her vision. Angela screamed in joy, hugging her tightly. Maria clutched the check like it was oxygen. For the first time in years, she felt hope take root in her chest. Word spread quickly in their small hometown. Maria's win made it into the local paper. A mutual friend sent Daniel the article. At a bar across town, Daniel chuckled bitterly, tossing the paper aside. She thinks she's an entrepreneur now? Please. She'll burn through that money in months. His new girlfriend, Cassandra, leaned against him. Why do you care? You left her. Daniel smirked. Because she still thinks she's something without me. She's nothing. Meanwhile, Maria was hard at work. Every penny of the grant went into research, sourcing a second-hand medical van, and negotiating with suppliers for equipment. One night, Angela caught her staring at receipts, exhaustion heavy in her eyes. He's laughing at you, you know, Angela said softly. I overheard from a friend. He doesn't believe you'll make it. Maria paused, then set down her pen. Good. Let him laugh. His doubt will fuel me. She stood, looking out the window at the quiet street. He left me with nothing. I'll build something he can never touch. Her eyes gleamed with determination. The medical van arrived battered, paint peeling, but to Maria it was beautiful. She ran her hands along its side, whispering, "You're my second chance." With Angela's help, she scrubbed it clean, painted it bright white, and stenciled Healing Hands Mobile Clinic on the side. Neighbors stopped to watch, curiosity in their eyes. One evening, a young boy tugged at his mother's dress as they passed. "Mama, is that a hospital on wheels?" Maria smiled warmly. "Yes, sweetheart. And it's for families like yours." The boy's mother's eyes filled with gratitude. "We've needed this for years." That first week, Maria set up outside a church in a struggling neighborhood. Dozens lined up, elderly men, mothers with children, even veterans she once served with. She worked tirelessly, taking blood pressure, dressing wounds, offering checkups. She charged little to nothing, sometimes accepting only smiles and prayers. At the end of the day, exhausted, Maria sat inside the van, staring at the sunset through the windshield. For the first time, she didn't feel broken. She felt whole. Angela climbed in, handing her water. "You did it, Maria. You really did it." Maria whispered, voice trembling, "This is just the beginning." The van had become a familiar sight across town. Week after week, Maria drove into underserved neighborhoods, offering care to people long forgotten by the healthcare system. Mothers began to greet her with hugs, children ran to her van with bright smiles, and veterans clasped her hand with gratitude. But it wasn't until the local news ran a story that everything changed. One afternoon, as Maria treated an elderly woman's wound, a young reporter approached, camera crew in tow. "Excuse me, are you Maria Santiago? We're doing a feature on community heroes." Maria looked up, startled. "Heroes? I'm just doing my job." The reporter smiled. "Maybe to you. But to them," he gestured at the growing line of patients, "you're saving lives." Later that evening, Maria sat with Angela watching the broadcast. The screen showed Maria's van, her hands gently bandaging a child's scraped knee, her tired smile still glowing. The headline read, "Veteran builds clinics after losing everything." Angela squealed. "Maria, you're on TV." Maria covered her face, embarrassed. "Oh no." But the response was immediate. Donations flooded in. Messages poured through her email, people offering to volunteer, businesses pledging support, strangers thanking her for her courage. One message stood out. "I saw your story. You reminded me why I became a doctor. Thank you for inspiring me." Maria read it twice, her heart swelling. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like the abandoned wife defined by betrayal. She was Maria Santiago, founder of Healing Hands Mobile Clinic. That night, she sat in her van, gazing at the stars. She whispered softly, "Daniel thought he ended me. But this is only the beginning." A year later, Maria's work caught the attention of a national nonprofit. They invited her to a charity gala in the city, where she was to be honored for her contributions. Angela insisted on styling her for the evening. "No army fatigues, no clinic scrubs. Tonight you're a queen," she said, draping a shimmering emerald gown over Maria's shoulders. Maria hesitated as she looked in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the broken soldier from the barracks. She was radiant, confident. At the gala, chandeliers glittered overhead, the room buzzing with laughter and chatter. When Maria's name was announced, applause thundered. She stepped onto the stage, heart racing. And then she saw him. Daniel. Sitting at a table near the front, a smug smile on his lips, Cassandra's arm draped around his. Their eyes locked. For a heartbeat, Maria froze. "He's here. Watching me." But then the announcer's voice rang out, "Please welcome our honoree, Maria Santiago, founder of Healing Hands Mobile Clinic." The crowd rose in a standing ovation. Cameras flashed, applause roared. Daniel's smirk faltered, replaced by disbelief. Maria walked gracefully across the stage, her head high. She could almost feel the heat of Daniel's gaze, but she refused to look at him again. Instead, she looked at the audience, her people. Later, as she mingled, Daniel approached, forcing a smile. "Maria. Long time." She turned, calm and poised. "Daniel." Cassandra smirked, whispering loudly, "Is this the famous ex-wife?" Maria met her eyes briefly, then returned her gaze to Daniel. "Funny. I thought you'd be too busy enjoying what you stole from me to notice my success." Daniel's jaw tightened. "You think this little charity act makes you important?" Maria leaned closer, her smile sharp. No, Daniel. Saving lives makes me important. Something you'll never understand. She turned and walked away as the cameras flashed, leaving him frozen in the crowd. The next day, headlines buzzed: veteran honored at gala, ex-husband seen in attendance. Social media caught fire, comparing Maria's elegance to Cassandra's shallow posturing. But the real moment came during her speech. Standing at the podium, Maria's voice carried across the hall. 2 years ago, I was betrayed by an email. I was left with nothing. No home, no money, no marriage. But pain is not the end. It is the beginning. The room grew silent. Even Daniel, seated in the crowd, was motionless. Maria continued, her voice strong. I stand here not because I was spared from heartbreak, but because I refuse to let it define me. To anyone who has ever been broken, know this: your story isn't over. You can rebuild. You can rise. The audience erupted in applause. Many stood, tears in their eyes, clapping furiously. Cameras zoomed in on her face, her proud smile glowing under the lights. Daniel sank lower in his chair, Cassandra whispering harshly in his ear. His smirk was gone. Later, backstage, a young woman approached Maria with tears streaming down her cheeks. You don't know me, but your story, it gave me strength to leave a man who treated me like nothing. Thank you. Maria hugged her tightly, whispering, you deserve more. Don't settle for less. By the time Maria returned home, her inbox was overflowing. Invitations to speak at events, partnerships with hospitals, even offers to expand her foundation nationwide. Angela grinned, waving the laptop at her. Girl, you've gone viral. Maria laughed through tears. Me? Viral? Yes. Angela squealed. They're calling you the woman who turned betrayal into a movement. Maria leaned back, exhaling. For the first time, she realized she had something Daniel could never take away: dignity. As she prepared for bed that night, she caught her reflection in the mirror. This time she smiled, not at who she had been but at who she had become. The years that followed were a whirlwind. What began as one battered van became a fleet of mobile clinics serving cities and villages alike. Maria's name spread far beyond her hometown. Newspapers called her the healer of the forgotten, while television anchors praised her resilience. She was invited to conferences, her speeches broadcast across the nation. But to Maria, the true victory wasn't the fame. It was the sight of children smiling after treatment, the relief on a mother's face when she realized she could afford care, the gratitude of veterans who felt seen again. One evening, Maria stood in her new headquarters, a renovated building now buzzing with staff. Volunteers filed paperwork, nurses prepped supplies, and doctors coordinated routes for the vans. The walls displayed photos of the communities they had served. Angela walked in holding a cup of tea. Can you believe this? Look around you, Maria. This is an empire. Maria smiled softly. Not an empire. A family. Angela raised an eyebrow. Call it what you want, but you're the queen sitting on the throne. Maria chuckled, shaking her head. I don't want a throne. I just want to make sure no one feels as helpless as I once did. Her gaze landed on the framed check, the very first grant she had won. Below it was a photo of the van she had painted with her own hands. She whispered to herself, from nothing to this. The homecoming. A few weeks later, Maria signed papers for a new house. It wasn't extravagant, but it was beautiful. 2 stories with wide windows that let in sunlight and a garden in the back where she planned to plant roses. As she walked through the empty rooms, Angela teased her. From a couch in my apartment to this. Not bad, Maria. Not bad at all. Maria twirled in the living room, laughing. This isn't about revenge. This is proof. Proof that I rebuilt. Angela smirked. Revenge or not, I hope Daniel sees this house someday and chokes on his pride. Maria grew quiet, her smile fading slightly. You know, there was a time I wanted that. For him to see me shine so he'd regret leaving. But now, she exhaled. Now I just want peace. Angela hugged her tightly. Peace looks good on you, my queen. With donations and partnerships pouring in, Maria's foundation grew rapidly. She traveled across the country, launching new vans, opening community health centers, and mentoring young medics. Each time, she shared her story, not to shame Daniel, but to remind others that brokenness wasn't the end. At a university lecture, a student raised her hand. Miss Santiago, what kept you going when everything was taken from you? Maria paused, then smiled. The belief that pain is fuel. That even betrayal can become the spark for something greater. I chose not to stay down. The audience erupted in applause, many rising to their feet. Cameras flashed, capturing her radiant face. Whispers of Daniel. But while Maria soared, Daniel spiraled. His ventures failed one after another. Bad investments, reckless spending, and the loss of allies who once admired his charm. Cassandra, tired of supporting his ego, eventually left him. Mutual acquaintances whispered rumors to Maria. Daniel's broke. He drinks too much these days. Maria listened silently, never commenting. When Angela pressed, Maria simply said, I don't need to rejoice in his downfall. My life speaks for itself. Yet deep down she couldn't deny a small flicker of satisfaction. Not out of spite but out of closure. The man who once declared she was nothing without him had been proven wrong, not by her words but by her life. The Gala of Crowns. 2 years later, Maria was invited to a prestigious national gala honoring women leaders. She wore a flowing golden gown, her natural curls styled into an elegant crown. As she walked down the red carpet, flashes lit up the night sky. Reporters called out, Maria, over here. Tell us, what does this recognition mean to you? She paused, smiling gracefully. It means betrayal doesn't define us. We define ourselves. Inside, as her name was announced, the room erupted. CEOs, politicians, doctors, all applauded her rise. She accepted the award with humility, her voice steady. I was once left with nothing. Tonight, I stand here with everything that matters: purpose, community, and resilience. The crowd rose to its feet, many chanting her name, Maria, Maria. At that moment she felt it fully. She was no longer the woman crying into a pillow in the barracks. She was a queen, crowned not with jewels but with dignity. After the gala, Maria returned to her new home. She slipped off her heels, walking barefoot into the garden. The roses she had planted were blooming, their fragrance sweet in the cool night air. Angela joined her, still giddy from the event. Do you realize how far you've come? The whole country knows your name now. Maria smiled, kneeling to touch the petals. And yet I don't crave their applause. The real victory is knowing I didn't let betrayal destroy me. Angela tilted her head. Do you ever think about him? About Daniel? Maria grew thoughtful. Sometimes, but not with anger. More like gratitude. If he hadn't broken me, I wouldn't have built this. In a strange way, his betrayal gave birth to my strength. Angela sighed, shaking her head. You're too gracious, Maria. If it were me, I'd throw his name in the dirt. Maria looked up at the stars. No. My silence is louder than any insult. He'll see me, not in anger but in everything I've built. And that will be enough. That night, Maria sat at her desk, pen in hand. She opened her old tin box, where she still kept the letters she once wrote Daniel. Slowly, she untied the ribbon, reading the words of a younger, hopeful woman. Tears welled in her eyes, not of sorrow but of release. She lit a candle, placed the letters in a metal bowl and set them aflame. The paper curled, turning to ash, the smoke rising like a prayer. Angela walked in startled. What are you doing? Maria's eyes glistened in the candlelight. Closing the chapter. As the last letter turned to dust, Maria exhaled deeply, a weight lifting from her chest. She whispered, I'm free. And for the first time in years she felt truly untethered from her past. She wasn't Daniel's abandoned wife. She wasn't defined by betrayal. She was Maria Santiago, the queen who rose from ashes, carrying her crown of resilience. The clinic lobby was unusually busy that morning. Nurses moved briskly between patients, the scent of antiseptic sharp in the air, the hum of voices blending into a low chorus. Maria, now in her late 30s, walked through the hallways with the grace of a leader. Her white coat bore the embroidered name, Dr. Maria Santiago, founder, Healing Hands Foundation. She paused often, greeting patients, hugging children, shaking hands with veterans. Her staff adored her, not because of her title but because of her humility. As she returned to her office, Angela rushed in, her expression troubled. Maria, you'll never believe who just walked into the clinic. Maria set down the patient files, brows raised. Who? Angela hesitated. Daniel. For a moment, the name felt foreign, like a word in another language. Maria blinked. Daniel? Here? Angela nodded grimly. He's not the man you remember. He looks finished, like life's chewed him up and spit him out. Maria inhaled slowly. Her chest tightened, but she didn't panic. Instead, a calmness washed over her. Where is he? In the waiting room. Asking for help. The encounter. The waiting room buzzed as Maria entered. Children played quietly in one corner, while patients waited for their names to be called. And there he was. Daniel sat hunched on a chair, his once proud posture collapsed. His clothes hung loosely on his frame, his hair flecked with gray. The sparkle of arrogance that had once defined him was gone, replaced by weary, sunken eyes. When he saw her, he froze. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came. Maria stopped a few feet away, her voice steady. "Daniel." He swallowed, his hands twisting in his lap. "Maria. I didn't know this was your clinic." Maria tilted her head. "Healing hands? It's been on the news for years." His gaze dropped. "I don't watch much news these days." For a moment, silence hung heavy between them, filled only by the murmur of patients and the ringing of a phone. Finally Daniel spoke, his voice hoarse. "I need help. I don't have insurance, no money. They said this clinic doesn't turn people away." Maria studied him, her face unreadable. Memories flashed. His email, the empty bank account, the photos with Cassandra. Then she saw him as he was now, fragile, broken, a shadow of the man who had once destroyed her world. "You're right," she said softly. "We don't turn people away." The shift. As a nurse escorted Daniel to an exam room, Angela whispered fiercely, "Maria, you don't have to do this. After everything he did." Maria shook her head gently. "This clinic was built on forgiveness and healing, Angela. If I deny him care, then I've let bitterness define me. And I refuse to give him that power." Angela frowned but said nothing more. Later Maria entered the exam room. Daniel sat on the bed, his hands trembling. He looked up, eyes brimming with something Maria never thought she'd see in him, shame. "I don't deserve this," he muttered. "Not from you." Maria pulled on her gloves calmly. "You're right. You don't deserve it. But healing isn't about who deserves what. It's about doing what's right." Her words sliced through the silence. Daniel looked down, his voice cracking. "Maria, I ruined us. I ruined you. And look at you now." His eyes filled with tears. "You became everything I said you couldn't. Without me." Maria paused, meeting his gaze. "No, Daniel. I became everything I was meant to be, despite you." The closure. As she cleaned his wounds and checked his vitals, Daniel tried again. "I was a fool. I thought leaving you would make me happier. But all I did was destroy myself. I lost everything, money, friends, Cassandra. And now, I'm here asking for your help." Maria listened in silence. Once, his words would have shattered her. But now they didn't carry weight. They were just confessions from a man who no longer held any power over her. Finally she spoke, her tone calm, almost gentle. "When you left me, I thought I'd never breathe again. You broke me in ways I didn't think I could survive. But I did survive. And I built a life far greater than anything we had together." Daniel's eyes brimmed with regret. "I'm sorry." Maria nodded. "I believe you. But I don't need your apology. I healed long before today." Tears spilled down his cheeks. "Maria, is there any chance for forgiveness?" Maria straightened, removing her gloves. She looked at him firmly. "Forgiveness? Yes. But reconciliation? No. You don't belong in my future, Daniel. That chapter is closed." The release. When his treatment was done, Maria stepped back. "My staff will handle the rest of your care." Daniel stood slowly, his shoulders slumped. "Maria, I don't know how to thank you." She offered a small, serene smile. "Thank the people who keep this clinic running. I'm just one part of it." He hesitated at the door, glancing back at her. For the first time his pride was gone, replaced by something almost childlike, loss. Then he left quietly, swallowed by the busy lobby. Angela entered a moment later, her eyes sharp. "You were too kind to him." Maria sighed. "No, Angela. I was kind to myself. I didn't let him drag me into bitterness. That's the real victory." The crown of peace. That evening Maria sat in her garden, the roses blooming in brilliant colors. She sipped tea, watching the sun dip below the horizon. For years she had imagined this moment, what it would be like to face Daniel again. She had thought she would scream, cry, demand answers. Instead she had found peace. Angela joined her with 2 glasses of wine. "So, that's it? That's the last of Daniel?" Maria smiled faintly. "Yes. He walked into my clinic asking for help. And he walked out knowing I no longer needed him, his approval, or his love. That's full circle." They clinked glasses, the sound sharp against the quiet evening. Maria leaned back, her heart light. "You know, I used to pray for him to regret what he did. But now I see, it was never about him. It was about me becoming the woman I was meant to be." Angela raised her glass. To the queen who rose from ashes. Maria laughed softly. To resilience. As the stars appeared above, Maria whispered a final thought into the night. Daniel taught me how deep betrayal can cut. But he also taught me the most important lesson: never beg love from someone unworthy. Her roses swayed gently in the breeze as though bowing to her words. Maria Santiago had come full circle, not with revenge but with grace. Not with bitterness but with power. Her story was no longer about an email that ended everything. It was about a woman who turned betrayal into a crown, and wore it with dignity. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.